brick concrete preliminary. Heavy construction project which requires significant collaboration. We want to talk about just the collaboration that has occurred with the major stakeholders. Certainly, there's coordination with other major projects that are adjacent to the corridor. The project cost estimate, I know everybody's very interested in that, and certainly the expanded bus service, and we'll be working with the city of Virginia Beach as we develop the final plans for the bus system to help support the light rail project. Should the city of
we got to hear it.
support it moving forward. And then finally, next steps. So let's go ahead and get started. In terms of the project benefits, I just want to step back for a moment and mention on August 19th, we celebrated the 5-year anniversary of the tide. We're very proud about that. Norfolk has seen housing units downtown increase by 72%. We've seen economic development along the light rail corridor of $532 million. Ridership is something we've seen consistently over the projected forecast of ridership that was done by the early modeling that was required by the Federal Transit Administration. So all in all, we're excited about the tide and what it's been able to create in Norfolk. But it's important to note that while the western end of the line is anchored by a major complex, the Eastern Virginia Medical Center, which has Norfolk General Hospital and Children's Hospital, the King's Daughters, the eastern anchor of the tide, and it's a sort of 7.4-mile line, is a parking ride line at Newtown Road. So you have basically a starter system. The ability to connect two of Virginia's largest cities certainly could boost economic development along that particular corridor. The expansion of the tide in this I-264 corridor, which is highly congested, certainly is a major benefit and certainly fits well within the development plans for the region. Now, let's just talk very briefly about some of the specifics of the project. We would extend from Newtown Road, where we would add a platform, an eastbound platform at Newtown Road. There will be 3 bridges, essentially, the aerial crossings at Witch Duck, Independence Boulevard, and Market Street at Town Center. There will be 3 new stations at Witch Duck, Helen, and Constitution. And there will be a parking ride lot with a bus transfer facility at Constitution Drive. Now, this whole issue of major utility relocations I will address in just a moment. Hampton Roads clearly is a region of incredible opportunities. Hampton Roads Transit initiated several years ago a program called Connect Hampton Roads. Connect Hampton Roads is an emerging initiative with the potential to significantly improve how we connect people and places across our region. We believe that high-capacity transit in the more dense corridors, like the one we're speaking of today, makes sense. But it's not a one-size-fits-all. More of the suburban rural areas can be served by additional parking ride lots. Also, we want to see better bus service that meets peak demand in a better way than we do today. Also, we want to see customer amenities to serve our customers with dignity. We want to see more shelters. We want technology that will let us know when the bus is on the way. The bottom line is we believe that public transportation should be more robust in Hampton Roads. And that's going to be important as we look to expand the region's economy. So we intend to work with our General Assembly members and stakeholders because it will require the development of a regional funding strategy for Connect Hampton Roads. Now, today we are celebrating the completion of the 30% preliminary engineering plans. On the table here, you see some of the details of that. There's going to be a quiz in 15 minutes. So partnership between RKK and STD. And we have with us this morning Greg Sigmund and David Plum. They will stand up. These gentlemen, I'm nervous. I really want to personally thank you all for the tremendous work that your firms have done. This has been an outstanding partnership. And I also want them to stand up so that if there are difficult questions about the project, please give me a thank you very much. I really appreciate that. While I joke a bit, the number of technical requirements and specifications are enormous. They looked at drainage, they looked at traffic flows, geotechnical work, utility test borings. It's incredible the level of work that they've done, including a wetlands evaluation as well. On the safety and security side, we've worked with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. That's going to be really important to make sure that we are able to integrate the 3.5 miles with the existing TAP system. So there's a lot of work that has gone into this effort. Stakeholder collaboration. Just take a look. I won't read all of this to you, but I wanted to give you a flavor of the level of work that has to occur for a major project like this. Coordinating certainly with the city of Norfolk as we do improvements in Norfolk in order to accommodate the Virginia Beach project. And certainly there are a number of private utilities that aren't listed here, but given the complexity of the project, we have had weekly meetings with these key utilities in the cities to make sure that this is a collaborative approach. There are also adjacent projects of great significance. The city of Virginia Beach is proposing a housing resource center right in the Wichita area. There's also a Virginia Department of Transportation project at I-264, a major ramp project, and there has to be collaboration and coordination with those projects so that there's appropriate planning, because these are really big infrastructure efforts. Also, we have a 42-inch water main relocation that's occurring. And also at Wichita Road Phase 1, and there's currently some construction happening right now with that particular project that the city is conducting. That's not associated with Light Rail, I want to be clear. The work that's being done is tagged to that road project that the city of Virginia Beach is undertaking. Now, we want to brag just for a moment. The vision of Hampton Roads Transit is for us to be the most efficient and custom-driven transit agency in the Commonwealth. In order to do that, we focus on three things: having the right people doing the right things, having the right processes in place, and thirdly, focusing on those major projects of significance. And we certainly have had a laser focus on this Virginia Beach Transit Extension project. We have a culture of accountability, and I'm really proud of that. And I want to recognize our Chief of Engineering and Facilities, Sybil Pappas. If she would stand up, please. She has led this effort, and I also want her to stand up because we have other significant questions. But just in all seriousness, there have been 52,000 consulting hours on this particular project. 275 consultant staff have worked on the various aspects of this project. There are 730, I counted each one, 730 drawings that are here on the table, and 675 pages of technical requirements and specifications. So I just want to give you the magnitude of the effort that has gone into what we're going to review with you this morning. So the bottom line is an 18-month process, but in order to meet some of the deadlines of the city of Virginia Beach, we were able to get everything done in 15 months, on time and on budget. Now let's move into the first category of the cost estimate. This will be a design-build effort, which will be done by the city of Virginia Beach. Our role will be the technical support to the project. The design builder light rail estimate includes all of the civil engineering work, the drainage, the infrastructure required, the bridges that I alluded to earlier, related to the infrastructure required for this light rail project, including permitting and final design. After a significant review of line items, and believe that there have been over 300 categories that are being reviewed by the City of Virginia Beach, the State of Virginia, and their consultants, we anticipate the design builder estimate that would build the light rail project is $157.6 million. Now, I need to make a footnote here because I think that's really important. The City of Virginia Beach is considering other enhancements if they move forward with light rail. Some of you are familiar with Charlotte, and there is a shared use path in Charlotte that bikers and walkers and families enjoy each and every day. Now, our role, Hampton Roads Transit Road, is to deliver the design specifications and estimates for the extension of light rail. Anything over and above that would be the responsibility of the City of Virginia Beach. But we anticipate the extension of light rail would get 157.6. So we're very, very proud of that number. And I think it's interesting, though, the State of Virginia's commitment to Virginia Beach for this project is $155 million. So again, this certainly, I think, could be a major benefit for the City of Virginia Beach should they elect to move forward. I mentioned the major utility relocations that are part of that. This particular project, there will be over 50 transmission and distribution facilities that would have to be relocated and addressed as part of this project. There are pinch points, such as the underpass here, where there will be a water main relocation. Cox has some utilities to get out of there. The bottom line, this is an extremely complex project relative to utilities, and our estimate for that work is $12 million. So basically, the design build estimated $157, the cost of utilities an additional $12 million, and we'll continue to move down the line. Let's talk about the anticipated right-of-way based on our 30% plans. We have identified some properties that will need to be acquired. Mostly there will be permanent and temporary construction easements, which is a normal occurrence for a large capital project. What we're extremely proud of is the fact that this project, the light rail project, as it has been designed, does not require any residential relocations. I know that's a very important issue for all of us. The cost of right-of-way is $24.8 million. The next item is our rail and support vehicles. We intend to acquire 3 additional Siemens S70 vehicles. That's currently what we have now. We would also add some additional equipment to support the light rail alignment, and that number is $21 million. Now, the final category relates to professional services. And this is why the collaboration that I talked about is so important. There are a number of roles here that have to be respected and done appropriately in order to deliver a successful project. The City of Virginia Beach would administer the design build contract. There will be a briefing tomorrow evening at the Virginia Beach City Council. City Manager Dave Hansen will be briefing the council during a work session tomorrow. So you're invited to attend that as well. So the responsibility of the City of Virginia Beach is to actually run the construction project. Hampton Roads Transit will be responsible to review all design build submittals to make sure that they are consistent with our existing system and our specifications. Virginia Beach is responsible for managing certainly the schedule and cost of the project. The State of Virginia, through the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, oversees safety and security. We play a major role administration and testing. Virginia Beach is lead on that. We provide a support role relative to safety and security certification, and that sounds like a simple phrase there, but the bottom line, the Tide has one of the safest records in the country. We take safety very seriously, so this certification ensures that we can continue that reputation. The City of Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads Transit, and the state all play a specific role in that certification. And finally, the issue of pre-revenue testing and startup. And sometimes this is a tough one because the project is essentially complete. You're actually see vehicles going up and down the line, but there's no one on the train. That's because we have to test the system, we have to train our operators, and that's a very important piece. Sometimes that takes up to 9 months. So we want to try to get that in 6 months, but the bottom line is that is a very important element of this project. So the cost of the professional services that will support the City of Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads Transit, and the state of Virginia through the Department of Rail and Public Transportation is $27.7 million. So that part is shared by the 3 entities. So do we need to drum roll? I guess everybody probably added up. So our estimated total project cost based on 30% plans is $243.1 million. As I mentioned, we have developed an estimate over 9 months, and over the last, I would say 30 plus days, we've worked very intensely with the City of Virginia Beach's consultants, Kimberly Horn and others, the state of Virginia. And again, I believe that this process has yielded a very reasonable and responsible cost estimate. Regarding bus service, part of our underlying philosophy is that you certainly want to have bus service operating all of the operating hours of light rail, so that after you get off light rail, you have a way to end your trip. So we will be working with planners, engineers, with the City of Virginia Beach to develop the final estimates related to the expansion of bus service. They are very excited about that process. They've been talking, maybe there will be a government level service. The bottom line is, in order to support light rail, you have to have that supportive bus infrastructure to support the system. New buses will be funded by the state of Virginia. We've applied for a smart scale grant, so we anticipate the state will cover at least the vast majority of that cost outside of this project. So we have not included the cost of buses in the project based on what the state has communicated to us today. Next steps. We are providing the bridging documents to Virginia Beach for construction. These plans, and I think this is just a copy, the City of Virginia Beach already has this information. They will take that and use it as they develop a request for proposals as requested by the Commonwealth Transportation Board by the end of the year. So this information will be the basis of an RFP where design builders will take that, offer modifications, and that is anticipated RFP will come in, I think it's the spring of 2017. Operation and maintenance estimates will be finalized as we work with the staff of the City of Virginia Beach. We'll have that in a few weeks. I've mentioned the design build process, and again, the city manager will be briefing the Virginia Beach City Council tomorrow night regarding that. And Hampton Roads Transit will act as a partner, and we'll provide technical oversight for this very important project. So with that, that completes my formal comments, and I'm available for questions.
Well, I thought that did provide a very comprehensive look. I think they did a fine job, and hopefully be sure to write down all your questions. As I said before, the next part of this is going to talk about a different perspective. We are very fortunate that him on C-SPAN. I have on a couple of occasions in our congressional testimony. But Mr. Reynolds, he is an expert on transportation, international expert, I might add. He's going to give you a different flavor of light rail, not only here, but on a national perspective. And with a little ado, a little bit of applause. Thank you.
All right, well, I have my own technology here, so let's see if we can get it working. Now, I've heard that there's some kind of game happening tonight involving Indians and baby bears. Baby bears chew wriggly gum. I don't really get it. It's not football, so I don't understand it. But some of you might understand it and want to watch it, so I'm going to try to hustle through here. Now, Mr. Harrell said a lot of stuff, and I don't want to be disrespectful to him. So I'll just say that a lot of the things that he said, I'm not going to say what he said was lies. I'm going to say it was untrue. But personally, I love trains. I helped restore this steam locomotive, which is in Portland, Oregon. Until recently, it was the second most powerful operating steam locomotive in the world. And it's with some chagrin that I have to admit that the second most powerful now is in Roanoke, Virginia. I actually donated money to that effort, but I didn't really help them restore it like I did this one. But if light rail worked, I would be all in favor of it. It just doesn't work. And so I think light rail's name should be changed to Untrue Rail. Almost everything they say about light rail is untrue, including almost every. I heard many things that Mr. Harrell said in that presentation that were untrue. Even the name is untrue, because when you think light rail, you think it's lightweight. But the average weight of a light rail car is 105,000 pounds. The average weight of a heavy rail car is 85,000 pounds. The light rail cars weigh more than heavy rail cars. So why do they call it light? It turns out light rail is short for light capacity. It means low capacity rail. Mr. Harrell says we want high capacity transit. Well, if you want high capacity, you don't want low capacity rail. What's high-capacity transit? It turns out buses are high-capacity transit. Portland, Oregon, my former hometown, has streets where they run 160 buses an hour. By comparison, for safety reasons, are not allowed to run more than 20 light rail trains an hour. There's almost nowhere in this country where they can run more than 20 light rail trains an hour. Even though each light rail train may hold more people than a single bus, because you can run so many more buses, you can carry a lot more people per hour on buses. You can carry even more if you use what are sometimes called bendy buses or articulated buses. And if you have exclusive buses, I was lucky enough to be in Istanbul recently. And they have a busway in which they run one bus every 14 seconds. Wow. That's over 250 buses an hour. And those buses are big. They can hold 200 people. So light rail is low-capacity transit. Buses are high-capacity transit. But it's silly to even think about high-capacity transit here in the Hampton Roads area, because if light rail is 9,000 people an hour and buses are more than 10,000 people an hour, the Tide right now at peak hour is carrying about 500 people an hour. 5%, a little more than 5% of its capacity. So you don't even need high-capacity rail or high-capacity transit. You need low-capacity transit. And guess what? Buses make excellent low-capacity transit as well as high-capacity transit because they're scalable. You can run smaller buses, you can run them less frequently, you can do whatever it takes to deal with whatever capacity you have. The places that rail transit makes sense in are places like New York City. Manhattan has, in a 7 square mile area, 2 million jobs. What's going on?
Oh, you don't want them on, I apologize.
You would just say, it makes it easier to use our vibrator phones. So you look at the places that have lots of rail transit and where lots of people are taking transit to work. And there are places like New York, Chicago, Washington. There are places that have lots and lots of downtown jobs. How many jobs are in downtown Virginia Beach? I don't know, but it's less than Norfolk, and Norfolk has 24,000 jobs downtown. Virginia Beach has even fewer. So it doesn't make sense to have high, even moderate capacity transit in Virginia Beach and Norfolk. Now, you can tell how few people ride transit around here. The average bus, Hampton Roads bus, carries over the course of the day an average of 7.7 people. You can look at other cities. Some of them carry twice as many. The Ames, Iowa buses carry twice as many people. Honolulu carries 3 times as many people. People just aren't riding transit here. That's a kind of a signal that maybe you don't need high capacity or even moderate capacity transit. A lot of the market for transit is people who don't have cars, but only 2.6% of workers in the Hampton Roads area don't have cars. Now, how does that 2.6% get to work? About 26% of them take transit. About 42% of them drive. 20% drive alone in cars they don't have. Evidently, cars supplied by their employer. Another 22% carpool. So transit here doesn't even work for people who don't have cars. Now, how can you think that spending more money on transit, on expensive transit, is going to make a difference? Now, the next untruth is that it's only going to cost $300 million, or whatever he said, 327, 267, whatever numbers they come up with. There are always cost overruns. We've been building light rail lines since 1985. Every single one of them has gone more expensive than their projected cost. Not one exception. And the average overrun is 45%, and a lot of them have been double the expected cost. The next untruth is that, we need rail to get new riders because there are people who won't ride buses. Well, if there are such people, do you really want to be subsidizing snobs?
Right. Amen.
But I don't think there are such people. I think people will ride, if they're inclined to ride transit, they're going to ride something that's quality transit. So you have a nice bus with comfortable seats, with free Wi-Fi on board, and maybe power points for their electronic devices, and you can attract far more riders because that bus can go on flexible routes to wherever people want to go instead of going where the rails go, which are very expensive to build. Now, we know that the Tide light rail here is a dismal failure. It has one of the lowest rates of ridership. Average light rail train has 16.9 people on board. Now, there aren't very many buses that have fewer than 16.9 seats. You could easily carry them on a bus. The most heavily used light rail cars in the country are in Phoenix. They carry 40 people. But guess what? The average bus has 40 seats. They didn't need to build light rail either. Now, another untruth that Hampton Roads puts out is they put out a press release after the Tide opened and they said it exceeds expectations. Now, you can't read this very well, but it says ridership is exceeding expectations with an average of more than 5,600 people a day. What was the expectation? Here is the expectation according to the Federal Transit Administration in 2003. 10,400 riders a day. So how does 5,600 exceed 10,400? Only in the warped logic of transit planners. And that 5,600 was just in the first month. Over the course of the first year, it was actually only 4,200 riders per day. In the most recent year, we have data available as 5,700 riders per day. Still well below the expectation for the first year. And it's not just the Tide that is failing to meet expectations. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. They built a light rail line there. It opened in 1986. And I don't want to say nobody rides it, but one day a train came into downtown Portland with only one passenger on board. Now, coyotes like to go where they know they can find solitude from. And as a matter of fact, it turns out that this coyote was a regular rider of the light rail. And there were also raccoons and other wildlife that rode the light rail. Other solitude-loving wildlife. Well, the truth is, before they built any light rail in Portland, 9.9% of commuters took transit to work. And then they built 5 light rail lines, 2 streetcar lines, a commuter rail line, and scores of high-density transit-oriented developments along the light rail line. And thanks to all of that, the light rail lines cost $5 billion. The transit-oriented developments cost taxpayers $2 billion. Thanks to all of that, today, transit share of commuting is up to 7.9% from 9.9%. That's considered to be a success. Portland is supposed to be one of the most successful light rail systems in the country. If that's our definition of success, you don't want any part of that kind of success. And of course, the tide certainly does not even meet that definition of success. The reason why, when you build light rail, you get less people riding transit is because light rail is so expensive and you have huge cost overruns, and to pay for it, they cut back on bus service. So, in Los Angeles, California, between 1980 and 1986, they had a policy of keeping fares low, of having excellent bus service, and they got a huge increase in bus ridership. And then they started building light rail, and they had huge cost overruns, and so they cut back on bus service. And the NAACP sued and said, you're building light rail lines into white middle-class neighborhoods, and you're cutting back on bus service to low-income black and Hispanic neighborhoods. And they won. And they got a 10-year injunction requiring the transit agency to restore that bus service. And because it couldn't restore the bus service and build rail at the same time, it stopped building rail. As soon as ridership responded, it rebounded back to where it had been before they started building the rail. As soon as the 10 years ended, they immediately cut back on bus service and started building rail again, and ridership is declining. Total ridership is declining. And it's not just Los Angeles and Portland. Atlanta, Houston, lots and lots of cities have built rail and seen total ridership decline. Lots more cities have seen per capita ridership decline because rail is so expensive that they can't afford to keep it running and keep the bus system running. Another great untruth is that light rail reduces congestion. Now, if I challenge them on that, they always hastily say, well, we didn't say it reduced congestion. We said it provided people with an alternative to congestion. Well, the Tide light rail goes 17 miles an hour. Even in congested traffic, you can probably get to where you're going door to door faster than the Tide light rail by going in a car. So that's not much of an alternative. But when they were planning the Norfolk light rail, their environmental impact statement said at numerous intersections with the light rail, the amount of congestion, the amount of delay would go way, way up. Now they're planning the Virginia Beach one, and they say, well, there are certain intersections where we're going to have a huge improvement in traffic. We're going to have much less congestion because of the light rail. But if you read the environmental statement, the traffic analysis very carefully, it turns out at every intersection where they're predicting an improvement, they're doing mitigation measures, like they're putting in stoplights where there previously were only stop signs. And at the intersections where they aren't doing mitigation measures, they are almost always experiencing increases in congestion, decreases in travel time, in travel speeds. So it's only the mitigation measures that are reducing the congestion. The mitigation measures altogether probably cost less than $1 million. So why not just do the mitigation measures and leave out the light rail? The next untruth is that we needed to save energy. I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal article about the Tide light rail that quoted me, but numbers are directly from the Federal Transit Administration. It says that the Tide Light Rail uses so much energy that if you drive around by yourself in your Hummer, you are driving a more energy efficient vehicle using less energy per passenger than the Tide Light Rail. Buses aren't too energy efficient either. What's really energy efficient is cars, and especially cars like the Prius. If you want to save energy, get more people to drive Priuses and get less people to ride light rail, because that's a real waste. It's not just energy, it's greenhouse gases and other pollutants. The buses actually pollute a little more than the Tide Light Rail, but the light rail gets its power from electricity, which comes from power plants, which comes mostly from burning fossil fuels. So you're emitting lots of greenhouse gases to power those light rails. Again, if you want to reduce greenhouse gases, get people to drive Priuses or Teslas or whatever, rather than trying to get them on a transit that doesn't work. What these numbers don't show you is that the light rail must be supplemented by feeder buses that mostly run around pretty empty. And that's one of the reasons why the buses show up so poorly, is because they added a bunch of feeder buses to support the light rail. Those feeder buses, if you don't have those, if you don't have the light rail, your overall bus system, transit system will be more energy efficient. They're now making cars in Europe that get better than 60 miles to the gallon. They are plug-in hybrid diesel cars. This is a Volvo. There's a lot of manufacturers making them. We aren't selling them here yet. But if we want to save energy, there's a lot of ways to do it that don't require you to change your lifestyle and live in a high-density development along the light railroad. Now, Mr. Harrell talked about how light rail has stimulated $500 million worth of development, and then he proceeded to give some examples. Well, the government built this here, and the government built this here, and the government built that there. Well, that's not stimulating the development. That's the government putting its money along the light rail line. It turns out that light rail does not stimulate development. Portland is famous for this because they claim it does. When they built the first light rail line in 1986, they zoned everything along the line for new development. And 10 years later, this is what they got. Now, I hope we got audio here, because I'm going to show you one of Portland city planners who 10 years after opening the light rail testified before the city council. Well, what's going on here? It worked this yesterday.
Worked in rehearsal.
During the 10-year operation of MAX along the station we're targeting as part of this program, we have not seen any of the kind of development of a mid-rise, higher density, mixed-use, mixed-income type that we would like to have seen.
Okay, they did not see any of the development they wanted. So what did they decide to do? They decided to subsidize it. They decided to use what's called tax increment financing, among other things. Total subsidies have totaled about $2 billion to get new development along the light rail line. And then they bring in, like the mayor of Virginia City, or the head of your transit district, or your editor of your newspaper. They fly them into Portland, and they take them and they show them all the development along the light rail line. And they say, look, we built the light rail, we got all this development. And they never mention the $2 billion in subsidies. They never mention that they got no development where the light rail was built before the subsidies, and they got no development along the light rail if they didn't subsidize it. So another untruth is that light rail is cost effective. Mr. Harrell talked about how they wanted to have the most efficient transit agency in the Commonwealth. Well, the way to do that is to not build any rail transit. And I'm not the only one that thinks so. When Obama was elected president, he appointed a man named Peter Rogoff to be head of the Federal Transit Administration. He traveled around the country and visited with transit agencies, and he was disturbed because they all said two things to him. They said, first, our rail transit is wearing out. We can't afford to maintain it. It's falling apart. Second, will you give us money to build new rail lines? He said, why do you ask us to give you more money when you can't afford to maintain what you've got? Now, I'm hoping this is going to work, because this is a speech he gave a year after he took that job in in Boston.
These, it's more important than ever to have the courage to ask the hard question. If you can't afford to operate the system you have, why does it make sense for us to partner on your expansion? Supporters of public transit must be willing to share some simple truths that folks don't want to hear. And one is this: paint is cheap. Paint is cheap. Rail systems, by contrast, are very expensive. If you take a bus and you paint it a different color, you can call it a special bus. And you can move a lot of people at very, very little cost. So is bus rapid transit a workable option for every corridor? No. There are some corridors with the kind of densities and destinations where only rail makes sense. But bus rapid transit, I will tell you, is a fine fit for a lot more communities than are currently considering it.
Now, the environmental statement, or the environmental statement for the Virginia Beach Light Rail compared bus rapid transit with rail, but they compared the most expensive bus rapid transit they could find. They built dedicated bus lanes for the bus rapid transit. Now, this is a dedicated bus lane in Los Angeles. And one thing you don't see on there is a lot of vehicles, because they only run a bus there every 8 minutes during rush hour. That means they're only using 2% of the capacity of the lane. That's as big a waste as building light rail and then carrying nobody on the light rail. You can run bus rapid transit on existing lanes shared with other vehicles, and Kansas City is showing this. Most of their bus rapid transit does not have dedicated lanes. When they open up a bus rapid transit line, they gain a 30 to 50% new riders that they didn't have before, and it's very cheap. Essentially, as he said, you take a bus and you paint it a different color so it's recognizable, and you give it a brand identity, and maybe you add some amenities like Wi-Fi and stuff like that. That's cheap, and run it down the street. That way, you can provide a lot better transit than Hampton Roads is providing today for not much extra money. But if you build light rail, you won't be able to afford to do anything. Now, the next untruth is the claim that light rail is modern transportation. And they show you these beautiful light rail vehicles that look all streamlined and everything. But this is an 80-year-old vehicle. This was light rail in the San Francisco-Oakland area 80 years ago. All the technology for light rail is over 100 years old. And they haven't improved. You know, 100 years ago, you could buy a car and you'd be pleased if you could go 20 miles an hour. And the light rail, streetcars in those days went 20 miles an hour. Today, you can buy a car that will go 120 miles an hour. The average speed of the Tide Light Rail, 17 miles an hour. The technology is not improved. They want you to pick backwards technology. What is modern technology? It's self-driving cars. Now, I'm a big proponent.
We see autonomous vehicles as having as significant an impact on society as Ford's moving assembly line did over 100 years ago. And that's why today we're announcing Ford's intent to have a high-volume SAE Level 4 fully autonomous vehicle in commercial operation in 2021 in a ride-hailing or ride-sharing service. Ford is going to be mass-producing vehicles with full autonomy in 5 years. That means there's going to be no steering wheel, there's not going to be a gas pedal, there's not going to be a brake pedal, and of course, a driver is not going to be required.
What I was trying to show you before, Mr. Field, he's the CEO of Ford Motor Company. I was trying to show you before was a self-driving valet car that parks itself, which you'll be able to buy pretty soon. It has a database of all the parking spaces in the car, and goes around and searches for an empty one and parks itself. And then when you are done with whatever you're doing, you pull out your smartphone and call it up and it'll come pick you up. But I'm looking forward to the kind of car he's talking about, because I have some dogs, and I'm looking forward to be able to just put the dogs in the car, so I don't have to go. You can buy a car Ford or a Subaru or a lot of different brands for about $25,000 or less that has most of the self-driving car technology built in. It's got sensors. It will keep you from leaving the lane when you don't want to. It'll keep you from hitting the car in front of you when you don't want to. It'll do a lot of things for you. And to take a car like this and turn it into a completely self-driving car will cost less than $1,000. So, when all the software is available in 5 years, suddenly people will be able to take cars that they've been buying for the last 5 to 10 years and upgrade them to be self-driving. So I think we're going to have a really rapid transformation to self-driving cars. And what Mark Fields promised is that they're going to have them running around as essentially self-driving cabs or Ubers. And Uber has plans for this, and Lyft has plans for this. General Motors has invested heavily in Lyft. You're going to see competitive systems out there with hundreds of self-driving cars running around Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Newport News, and you pull out an app, you pick the one you want, it'll pick you up in a minute or two, take you where you want to go, drop you off where you are. You don't have to walk in the heat or the cold to get to the light rail line. And it will be, it will cost less than the light rail. It will cost less than a bus. So why do we need are we going to need transit at all? We need buses for now, between now and then, but we aren't going to need any kind of long-term investments like light rail. Light rail means white elephant, really. I don't know why that slide's white, but that slide means to indicate that transit agencies are walking dead right now. Just don't know. Okay, I've really only scratched the surface here. If you want more information, I did bring a few copies of my book, Gridlock, which honestly compels me to tell you you can buy online for $13, get an electronic version if you want. But if you want my autograph, buy one from me. I'm selling them for $20. The list price is $25. But if you don't want to pay me $20, you want me to carry these heavy weights back home, there's a whole lot of papers I've written for the Cato Institute. Just go to cato.org and look for me, and you can download these papers, the case against rail transit, the case for autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, and so on and so forth. There's more than I think about 30 papers I've written for them so far. All right, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity that Mr. Harrell didn't give you. I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask me some questions. And it's actually 3 minutes before the baby bears and Indians start fighting.
They should have it on record.
Okay. We have time for a couple questions?
We do.
Okay.
My question is, with all this nice...
We're going to get
Well, you just told me.
I know, but I'm doing my project.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I didn't know the format.
We like this format better.
That's all right. I have my own rules. I have them.
Make them up as you go along.
No, I'm not doing that.
Moving right along.
I'm trying to find a question that will stump me.
Well, these are some I don't know. I'll read the question, but I don't think that you can. How much will it cost taxpayers in Virginia Beach if it's done?
Well, it's going to cost, a few $100 million. It's going to cost about $15 a ride. Every time somebody steps aboard, it's going to cost taxpayers about $15. But in the long run, it's going to cost more because, they're building the cheap ones first. They're going to eventually want to build one to Newport News. They're going to want to build their own light rail bridge to get there. In Portland, the first one cost $200 million. The second one cost $900 million. The most recent one cost $1.5 billion. They want to build one that's going to cost $3 billion. They just keep going up and up and up. Seattle, next Tuesday, Seattle voters get to vote on $54 billion for light rail. Los Angeles voters get to vote on $120 billion, including one, that's going to be for several lines, but one of them is going to cost $1 billion per mile. And it's just as same technology as your Tide light rail. It's not going to carry any more people than that one can carry. So you can bet if this one gets approved, there's going to be all the more momentum to approve the next one.
Did you take into consideration that traffic would be better for Hampton Roads if we decide to extend light rail?
No way.
Well, except for it wouldn't be better. There's no way it's going to be better because it doesn't carry enough people to improve traffic, but it does cross lots of streets, and everywhere it crosses streets, they give the light rail priority on the traffic signal so that you don't have to slow down the empty light rail trains, you just have to slow down everybody else. So it actually degrades traffic for everybody else. They built the light rail line in Minneapolis, between Minneapolis and the Mall of America in Bloomington, and it never once crossed the highway, but it crossed streets to cross the highway. And because it disrupted the traffic signals on the cross streets, those traffic signals were connected to the traffic signals on the highway, and those are disrupted. So it added 20 to 40 minutes to the travel time between Minneapolis and Bloomington.
Huge apartment, which you may have seen when you drive around town, when you've been here the last couple of days. Huge apartment complexes are being built in Virginia Beach with more traffic. How can the city relieve congestion? What will the future hold without some light rail relief?
Well, light rail doesn't work to relieve the traffic created by those huge apartment complexes. In Portland, they're building lots of those, and some friends of mine with a group called the Cascade Policy Institute have gone out and spent many days standing in front of them in the morning and counting how people leave the building. How they drive, do they bicycle, do they take light rail, do they take the bus. It turns out the percentage of people taking transit from these high-density complexes built on light rail lines is no greater than anywhere else. Some people who don't like to drive will live in those high-density complexes, but in general, you stick a family of four in a complex like that, they're going to drive just as much as before. I don't think it's appropriate to be building those. A lot of them are subsidized with tax increment financing, and I think the planners have decided to try to socially engineer how we live. I could talk about that for another 25 minutes.
Will HRT have their own police force like other cities have? And maybe part of answering that question would be, from your knowledge, how have other cities addressed the public safety of light rail?
Well, when Portland opened its light rail line, it immediately fired all of the public safety people working for the transit agency because they couldn't afford them anymore, because the light rail cost so much. And so they had huge crime problems on the light rail, and people begged the city police to ride it to solve the crime problems. And a city policeman went to a public meeting and said, I won't ride the light rail, and I'm armed all the time. I can't guarantee what's going to happen here, but the truth is that police know that when a light rail station opens, that you immediately get an increase in crime around that station. In Portland, drug trafficking takes place on the light rail line because you can sell your drugs, hop on the train, and be somewhere else. If you want to buy drugs, you can go break into somebody's house, steal a stereo, get on the light rail train, and take it somewhere else.
I'm going to modify this slightly. The question was about taxes, but given, if you could just share, how have communities, you could use Los Angeles or some of these other places are having these big mega bond referendums, or how are they financing that capital expense? Is that mostly from the feds? Is it local? How are these systems being financed?
The feds have a policy of paying just half, unless you're Portland, Oregon, because Portland is the model, and so they'll pay for most of Portland, but everywhere else, they'll pay just half. And if there's cost overruns, they won't pay any of the cost overruns. You have to pay that yourself, which is why you end up with such, the transit agency is still strapped for cash after they build these lines. They've built them using sales taxes, using property taxes, using all kinds of different taxes. Some of them have even used tax increment financing to pay for the light rail. When they build into the airports, they take the airport user fees, your ticket fees, and they dedicate that to the light rail. So whenever I don't live in Portland anymore, but I often change planes in Portland. Whenever I change planes in Portland, I pay $5 for the light rail, even though I'm not even leaving the airport. So they use whatever money they can The only people who don't have to pay are the people who ride the light rail.
So I'll answer it. How much was Mr. O'Toole paid to give his talk here today? Zero.
Nice.
But I hope you buy my book. If you buy my books, the money will be donated to a nonprofit organization called the American Dream Coalition, which helps people all over the country deal with these kinds of problems.
Why is it, do you think, that light rail is being promoted all over the country? I guess this is the context of your talk. And who is profiting from light rail in the end?
There we go.
Well, to make a long story short, it's being promoted because there's so much money to be made. You can build a freeway, a 4-lane freeway for $10 million a mile. But light rail right now, the average cost is almost $200 million a mile. And so there's lots and lots of profits to be made in that. And the usual pattern is, Mr. Harrell was talking about preliminary engineering. They hire somebody to do some preliminary studies, and that group then spends a lot of their money to lobby for the project. So you end up just building this momentum. The more you hire to do studies, the more money is actually spent on lobbying for the project. Now, to make the story just a little bit longer, in 1973, Congress passed a law that recognizing that interstate freeways in cities were becoming controversial. It said if a city wanted to cancel a freeway, they could use the federal share of the money to make transit capital improvements. So a city like Portland and Sacramento and Buffalo and other cities that didn't have any rail transit, they just had buses, they said, well, what kind of capital improvements can we do with that? We just buy new buses, we don't have enough money to operate those buses. So they decided to build light rail because it was expensive, because it could use up all that money that was available by canceling that freeway. Plus it created a lot of construction jobs that made the construction industry happy. They would have been unhappy if they weren't able to build a freeway. In 1991, they repealed that law and created a new slush fund. It's called the New Starts Fund. It's $2 billion a year. And the way it works is, it's a bucket of money. If you want to build a $300 million light rail, you get $150 million of it. If you want to build a $3 billion light rail, you get $1.5 billion of it. So the transit agencies have an incentive to make it as expensive as possible so they can get as much of that federal money as possible. And that's why the cost of light rail has gone up from $20 million a mile in 1980 to $200 million a mile today, and some lines are $600, $800, $900 million a mile.
Here's a question which won't be for you, but I'm trying to read some that we'll get answers for that were in the presentation. The 2013 Tide financial statements show operating expenses of $11.90 per rider. I guess in his presentation that he gave, I took notes. It said, how did this drop to $6 in 2014? I don't know, but we'll ask it. This is one which won't be able to answer, but we'll pass it. The Metro in Northern Virginia has lost 7% of their riders, but they don't know where they went. Where did they go?
We know where they went. We know where they went. People don't trust the Metro anymore because it's falling apart, because the federal government paid to build it, local governments paid to operate it, nobody's paying to maintain it, and they're doing all these hold-ups now. They're shutting down lines to do maintenance work, but they're really just scratching the surface of what needs to be done. So people don't trust it anymore. So I have friends who are now driving to work who were taking Metro to work before. And I've been on it many times where I've been delayed 20 minutes. I've been on it. They used to have computers that were actually operating it. Now they don't trust the computers anymore. I've been on it when the driver actually fell asleep. We pull into a station and stop and wait 5 minutes and then leave the station. The doors never open. That's what you can expect will happen with light rail in 30 years. Portland's light rail is falling apart too. They're having accidents. They had 3 delays in 3 days, and they sent out a tweet apologizing for the delays due to derailments and things like that, and within a half hour they were over.
You mentioned in the course of your discussion, I believe it was, that the average cost overrun was like 45% of projects. Who was responsible for those cost overruns? And do you have any idea of just what the implications? I know you said some of it was other service, but who was responsible for that? Was it the contractor with a fixed price? That was something after. Who ultimately bears the liability for the cost overrun?
Well, the cost overruns are so pervasive. Every single one has had it. There's a planner named Bent Fugler. He's a Danish planner. He says that the cost overruns are deliberate. They're strategic misrepresentation. In other words, lying. The companies that they hire to do the preliminary cost estimates deliberately lowball it, knowing that that's what the agency wants to hear so they can sell the project. And then when the project gets sold, they'll hire the same companies to do the final engineering work. They'll make a lot of money, and of course the cost will go up. So who's responsible for it? You, the taxpayer, end up having to pay for it. As they say, local taxpayers have to pay 100% of the cost overruns because the feds won't pay that part.
Someone was asking about, please explain the iron triangle concept.
Well, that's a funny story, actually, because the iron triangle is bureaucracies, politicians, and special interest groups. The politicians decide to give money to the bureaucracies, who then transfer the money to the special interest groups, who then make campaign contributions to the bureaucracies. Now, back in 1995, I actually had an open mind about light rail. I've been studying other issues. And I had a couple of interns from Syracuse University in New York. And they came and I said, I'd like you to study light rail. And they said, okay, we love light rail. We love transit. We think it's going to be great. And I said, well, what do they teach you at your university? They teach us about the Golden Triangle. Oh, what's that? That's bureaucracies, politicians, and special interest groups with bureaucracies at the apex running the show, because they're being trained to become a bureaucrat. And I said, okay, go out and study light rail. And they came back a week later and they said, it's awful. Portland's light rail is a total disaster. And that convinced me that people ought to know about it.
Well, there are a lot of questions here that are not necessarily directly germane that I would ask you to answer. I'm going to read some of them, not all of them, and then I'm going to give you a non-sided, either-sided issue answer. And some of these are, while very provocative, don't fit the format we have here today. So I will just answer some of those. One of them was, who owns the land along the rail line? Well, I can't answer that here tonight. And I know certainly a good gentleman here tonight can't answer, but I do know that question, and certainly that takes a lot of property looking. Are the trains made in America? Yes, they are. I'm sure. I don't know. Actually, the ones we were ordering were made in America. But all the parts, I can't swear.
The parts, it's like buying a Toyota that's made in America. A lot of the parts are made in foreign countries, brought here, and they're assembled here. But by law, if they're federally funded, they have to be assembled in America.
Yes, that's by American Act.
And by the way, Portland bought some streetcars from the Czech Republic. They didn't get federal dollars, and they cost $1.9 each. And then they got federal dollars for the next set of streetcars that are made in America. They cost $5 million each.
Norfolk taxpayers paid for light rail, subsidized all the development, and had their personal property taxes. Explain how and when. I can't, I'm not addressing what Norfolk does. I have enough trouble just keeping up with Virginia Beach. But that's a good question. Why do we need light rail for an arena when we have a problem with drainage? Well, the light rail was only going to town center. The arena was at the ocean front, so it was never going to the arena under the current scheme. Doesn't mean it would never go there if it's built, but the current question ends at Constitution, which is a good another 7 miles before you get to the arena. But part of the proposal is to run a express bus from the ocean front to the Constitution Drive, where the movie theaters now are. That would now be a bus thing. Would be running the bus to that location nonstop, and I want to make sure that people know that that is part of the system. So in fact, there would be a connection to that location, but it is not part of the light rail itself. Yes, sir.
Well, The idea of taking light rail to the marina when it's low capacity transit or to the arena is absurd. It's not. It would take 10 hours or more to empty a sports facility using light rail because it's so low capacity. Now, some of you may remember a few years ago there was a Super Bowl in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. They called it the Transit Super Bowl because they gave the parking lot to the media. They said to get everybody wanted to go to the Super Bowl had to either take the train or the bus. And they didn't use light rail. They had higher capacity rail. They had commuter trains and other higher capacity rail. And yet, people who wanted to take the train ended up taking 2 hours, waiting in line for 2 hours to take the train to get there. When the Super Bowl was done, a lot of them didn't get to leave until 1 a.m. to get out. People who took the bus, it was very smooth. The buses came in, they unloaded them, they loaded them back up and took them out. It was very fast. Buses are high-capacity transit. If you want to serve a stadium, light rail is absolutely the wrong way to do it.
New buses, this you made a reference from Mr. Hill's presentation that the state was going to pick up the cost of the initial set of feeder buses. So new buses are anticipated to be paid for by the state. What happens if the state changes their mind? Well, that always can happen. I think probably because they're trying to convince all the citizens for the regional system with a dedicated source of revenue that they want, that the state probably would be good for their commitment, that initial commitment, not just being my fair assessment. But, you know, the most expensive word in the English language is free, but I would suspect that after that, their operation replacement. But I do think they would keep their commitment, but if not, we'd have, either the city of Virginia Beach would have to figure out how to then dip into our own pocket to pay for that. But I don't anticipate that that's a realistic risk if the public decides that's what they want.
The real question is, how are you going to pay to operate the buses? And if you're spending all your money on light rail, there's nothing you're doing for operating the buses.
Well, certainly we, well, I'll come back to me. I'm trying not to editorialize. Why can't we fix the problems we have instead of spending money on what we do not need? Well, I'm not answering that here. That's your question to answer on November the 8th. So I'm not going to do that. I can't answer who are the donors to connect. That's not my job here. This is about priorities. You get to decide that. This one asks, the referendum, what happens each way it goes. I think a majority of the council has said that they'll abide by whatever decision that you make. And that is certainly my position. But if we decide to go with light rail, I will do my best to make sure it succeeds as best as possible. And once again, that's a decision for the public to make, and I'll be listening and following what they tell us they want us to do. That's not a question here. Those are the questions that were suitable for this forum. Well, some things that were they are of a personal policy, political preference purpose versus what you're trying to ask us. And you can certainly come up and ask me this privately when this event is over, and I'll be happy to entertain those. But this is an important issue. Life is all about choices. You have to look at that and you feel which future you want to be a part of. Look at the facts. I encourage you not just to listen to the two sources, the video, which I thought gave a balanced view. You got a little bit of another view about what has been the actual experience. But in the end, every experience is unique. Every community is unique. In every community, the citizens always hold the power of their destiny in their hands. All I encourage you is to be as informed as you can. All of you go out on November the 8th and vote. I appreciate you all coming, and if you're for the Clevelands, I hope they win. And if you're for the Cubs, I hope they win. And I'll close with this. I'm going to close with this. It's always dangerous closing with kind of a joke story, but this is the Huey Long story. This is during the time of mostly when you weren't supposed to be, temperance movement, prohibition. And he was out on the stump giving those kind of speeches that he was known to give. He was quite the entertainer. And someone asked him what his opinion was on liquor by the drink. And he says, if you're talking about that fine Sippin whiskey whose taxes build our schools and pave our roads, I'm all for it. If you're talking about the devil's potion that causes men to abandon their children and beat their wives, I'm all against it. So I think light rail kind of falls right in there. But anyway, thank you all for